Be honest and care for others. Show your evidence, share your reasoning. So tonight we have Clerk Zadowski that will go over our just general guidelines that are also on our website.
Sure. Here's some of our listening session guidelines. If you have handouts for the board, please give them to our board secretary over here if you haven't had the chance to do that. Persons addressing the board will have 3 minutes total. When speaking, the use of names or any information that identifies a specific individual is prohibited, and you will be asked to end your comments. Persons addressing the board may not merge their time in order to allow one person to speak more than 3 minutes. The clerk of the board, me, so I will start the stoplight timer at the start of each person's time. Green means go, yellow means wrap up, and red means stop. When the red light comes on, the chair will gavel to signal you to end. And then the last guideline, in the interest of respect for every listening session speaker, please hold any commentary during the speaker's time until they are finished. Thank you.
So is the protocol at the microphone is there's a little push button. If you see the green light, it means the mic is on. And it's always kind of good to pull it pretty close to your mouth so that our community, we are live streaming our listening sessions, and we'll upload them also on our YouTube site by tomorrow morning. So again, using the mic is really pretty important so that our community can also be a part of our listening session. So we appreciate that. So our first speaker is Jim Olson, and on deck is Ethan Fisher.
Good evening. Yesterday evening, I was contemplating what to share with you, and I decided to try and give you a snapshot of my last 5 days at work. My regular duties include prepping for 12 different lessons each day. To facilitate the transition of my 12 learning groups, I have 5 minutes to drop off at my group, return to my classroom, set up for my next learning activity, and pick up my next group. I also have a hallway duty each day. In addition to my duties, here are some of the extras that I personally gave in the last week. I stayed after my contract hours to discuss school climate and procedures. I cleaned tables and swept the cafeteria floor. I served on an interview committee during my prep time. I picked up hallway garbage every day. I volunteered to monitor students in the cafeteria during my duty-free lunch period. I emptied overflowed recycling bins. I met with a student during my prep time. I held 2 mentor meetings with new teachers. I administered fast assessments during my prep time. I stacked furniture and I cleaned my classroom floor. I spent an entire prep time in a data review meeting. I filled in for a colleague by covering his breakfast duty. I removed 3 dead mice from our building. I arrived for school 30 minutes before my contract each of those 5 days. I worked at home on schoolwork each evening and on the weekends. I can tell you what most of my colleagues are thinking. That's it? Because I know that I've got it better than most. We're giving our total selves to our children. I'm sick of asking for very little and getting even less. None of us in this room are ever going to stop giving to our students. But if things don't change, we're going to stop giving these extras that the district is taking for granted. It's time for this board to guide the administration to settle a fair contract. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Ethan Fisher, and on deck is Terry Lao.
Good evening. My name is Ethan Fisher. I am the president of the Duluth Federation of Teachers. I'd like to first welcome our new school board members Mike Sell, Member Banks, and Member Williams. I wish you all well during your time on the board and appreciate the work that you, along with the other board members, do. So thank you for your time. I also look forward to conversations with you in the future and hope that we can schedule some time together. I do want to say Governor Walz this week proclaimed it Paraprofessional Recognition Week, and the work that our paraprofessionals do every day to support our students and the teachers they work with is second to none. Thank you to all of our paraprofessionals. As I am sure you are all aware, district leaders and the DFT are working together on many things right now. Not only are we in the midst of contract negotiations, but there are conversations happening about a new middle school model and the schedule that goes with that. Professional learning communities and their future. A new high school schedule. Assignment and transfer topics as they relate to ESSER funding going away. Not to mention our continued efforts in the labor management process. All of this is very much appreciated, and I believe great things are coming for Duluth Public Schools. Through all of this, I have received hundreds of questions and comments from the educators that will be and are being impacted by the work we are doing. I hear things like, I don't know if I can do something more than I'm doing right now. I am at my breaking point right now. What is going to be taken off my plate if they add something new to it? Every one of them, they're all doing more. I am not sure if you've had an opportunity to look through the 11-page document I shared with most of the board last month, but it reflects the additional work that a small sample of teachers is doing. I would guess if we opened it up to all the educators here in the room, the document would grow exponentially. They are all giving more. As I stand before you this evening, I find solace in knowing that I am not alone. Not only do I have all of these wonderful educators standing behind me tonight, but there are educators from across the state attending board meetings to proclaim the same message that I have for you tonight. They deserve more. I look forward to continuing to work with district leadership to address the many challenges and opportunities we have before us. The Duluth Federation of Teachers is here to support the students we serve every day. And the Duluth Federation of Teachers is here to fight for each and every one of the educators in our district. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Terry Lao. On deck is Cassidy Wellhouse. Or Cassidy Wellhouse, I'm sorry. But on deck is Haley.
I'm up right now. Who is it?
Terry Lao. On deck is Cassidy Wellhouse.
Hello, my name is Terry Lao. I am a senior at Duluth East High School, and I am working on my Girl Scout Gold Award project, the highest award you can earn in Girl Scouting. The issue I want to address is conserving paper at Duluth East High School. Paper consumption impacts the environment by contributing to 68 million trees being cut down every year. Paper consumption also affects the school's budget. By reducing paper usage, cost savings could be used to support the technology initiative to improve and maintain computers for students and staff. Some facts are, the school district as a whole used 10,899,000 pieces of paper in the 2022-23 school year. I know that some teachers have a copy limit at their school. However, there is no copy limit for teachers from the print shop. Even though every student has a Chromebook, teachers are still printing out assignments or making the students print things out that can be submitted online. For example, one of my teachers makes us print out graphs that we make using Google Sheets. How do I propose to affect change at Duluth East? Many people aren't aware of their paper usage, so my first step is helping people understand how much paper they use. My next step will be sharing strategies to use less paper at our school. Some alternatives are reusable paper, such as Rocketbook paper, making sure copies of assignments and other papers are double-sided, and different styles of note-taking. Another alternative is using the technology that we already have, our Chromebooks. I am sharing this information with you because I am looking for the district to support students and staff reducing their paper usage, and I want the district to advocate for technology. I am focusing on Duluth East. However, I am creating a website with all the materials that I develop so that other schools, staff, and students can use them to reduce their own paper usage. As Matt Bevan said, while it may seem small, the ripple effects of small things is extraordinary. Thank you for your time.
Our next speaker is Cassidy, and on deck is Carl Sack.
Hi, I'm Cassidy Wellhouse, and I'm an MTSS coordinator at Laura MacArthur Elementary School, who I have a bunch of them here tonight with me. Super appreciate it. Tonight, I'm here to ask you to partner with us to create a contract that accurately reflects the worth of our educators. I was going to talk about rates and numbers and percentages and inflation, but instead I felt the need to share a little part of our story. At the beginning of the year, we were asked to remember our why, asked to reflect on what our purpose and or our values are. We have been asked to find a mantra or a word for the year. So here is mine, a refusal to work in scarcity. And many of them have heard me say that this year. So each day I actively choose to use the printer as much as I want to and need to meet my students where they're at. I actively choose to use the color printer even when it's asked to not use it as much. I come at contract time and I leave at contract time. I choose to put my own mental, emotional, and physical well-being before my job and my students this year. These are all things that I have to actively choose to do, and I have to actively set boundaries for. So what I'm asking you is to please also fight with me and for me so I don't have to live in scarcity, not just work in it. I'm asking you to support the third grade teacher who is barely getting by to put herself in grad school. She has to work a second job. To support the veteran teacher that's sitting over there that has to also work a second job. To allow her children for extracurricular activities. To support the fifth-year teacher that has to go work basketball games in this district. To be able to put dinner on the table. To support the first-year teacher who came up to me her first week and said, I have to quit my second job in order to meet the needs of my students. And I'm asking you to support me, where a third of my annual income comes from my second job. I'll say that one more time. A third of my annual income comes from my second job. So please, fight for us, us to uphold our values and our mantras and the whys you've asked of us this year. If you can do that for me, I can give you a little bit more, and so can all of them. So please, give me a livable wage so I do not have to go to a second job. Imagine the educators you would have if I did not have to work a second job.
I'll call Carl Sack for public comment, and then on deck is Catherine Nakbar. Carl Sack is our next speaker. I don't see Carl, so I'll call Catherine Nakbar, and on deck is Johanna Cumes.
I just also want to welcome new board members, say hello to each of you, and to thank all of, I think it is. Maybe I just need to get closer. We didn't start the time yet, did we? All right, just making sure. Just making sure. Can I just say thank you to all of you for your service, and to our new board members. It's a really crucial link that you serve between the district and constituents, so thank you for your time. I'm here regarding certified staff compensation. In 1997, I was a new hire teacher with no experience and a 4-year degree. My starting wage was approximately $19,000. As a youth that grew up in poverty, I knew how to cut corners. I could afford to make payments on my $9,000 student loan. The cost analysis, it made sense to me. As my career progressed, I found myself teaching adjunct education courses at local universities and colleges. For the past 20 years, it's been a privilege to work with educators entering the profession. This is also attributed to the reason I'm so passionate about having a strong mentorship program, which it seems there's some progress on this topic. Thank you for that. Today, many educators experience the opposite cost ratio of what I just highlighted. During my university courses, just as an example, I share my paycheck with students, and they see that my net pay is approximately $1,500 every 2 weeks. Now, this is just my experience, but it opens the door to a lot of questions. Often these conversations reveal the incredible debt load that educators are incurring, $40,000, $50,000, $60,000, $70,000, $80,000. This debt load far surpasses my measly $9,000. I don't think there's enough corners that can be cut regarding this disparity. It is true, our wages have not kept up with inflation and the cost of living. We're losing educators because of this. We are worth a raise that reflects the additional work that has been added to our plates in the last 4 years. Ethan shared an 11-page document that highlighted these items. Notable settlements have been taking place in our district, with some at 6% raises for this year alone. I don't want to take away from those that have successfully negotiated, but that increase on $100,000 compared to a teacher's wage that starts at $41,000 varies greatly. Please consider the amount of work that educators have done through the pandemic, they continue to do, where we meet the students where they are as they've returned to school, and importantly, to include the cost of living increases. Recently, I met with somebody who was in the teaching program, and they were going to be an awesome teacher. I saw them a couple weekends ago, and I said, "Where did you land? How is it going?" They said, "Catherine, I left the field. The emotional toll that this job takes on my personal life could not equate to the compensation." Please consider allocating resources. The school board has approved some sizable percentages this year, as contracts have been settled. We can't be expected to settle for less because we are worth so much more. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Our final speaker is Johanna Cumes.
Can we hear me okay? Okay, I'm reading this letter on behalf of a colleague today from their perspective. This year has been incredibly challenging, especially with the demands placed on us during the first semester. I've made efforts to focus on teaching my students and create engaging lessons, but at times the workload has been overwhelming and has taken a toll on my mental health. It feels like my job is just a job, and I sense that the district views me merely as an employee number, easily replaceable without any consideration. Having been a teacher for 27 years, I can confidently say that this year has been particularly difficult and feels like it's breaking me. The fact that my own principal hasn't even met me yet is unacceptable. I question why this is the environment the district wants for its teachers. I'm left wondering if the district leadership cares about the emotional and mental burden teachers are feeling right now. And the answer is no. Your actions speak louder than your emails. Despite our dedication and commitment, it seems like we're just employee numbers to district leadership. The push for more control over our free time in the mornings is ironic, given that the number of administrators comprise approximately 8% of our general fund, while the state average is closer to 2.5%. Do they realize that we invest significant extra hours worrying about students, lesson plans, and various work-related issues? We work well beyond our 40 hours of required work, but the push for more control over our work feels very disingenuous, particularly when there's no real offer for adequate compensation. The implementation of teacher clarity for our PLCs, which resembles backwards design but in a more paperwork-heavy format, is insulting. It feels insulting to us teachers because there are unclear expectations and little understanding from those who endorse it. Every new step forward feels like Einstein's definition of insanity. The question of whether it's worth being belittled, facing micromanagement, and dealing with unthought-out plans from district leadership weighs heavily on my mind. The district's insufficient support for a fair contract, as well as for our Tier 2 pension plan, raises serious concerns about the value and respect given to teachers. It's a difficult situation, and the question of whether it's worth it remains unanswered for me. But it is pretty telling given the number of people who have left the profession. I'm concerned about potential backlash for expressing these sentiments, but more teachers need to speak up. While I have passion for teaching, the constant micromanagement and lack of support, it's extinguishing that flame day by day. This is a high burnout field. We need to be taken care of and appreciated. How many staff members have left mid-year? How high is the turnover rate given the level of burnout? In negotiations, district leadership only offered us 2% and 2% when they received much more, closer to 10% over the next 2 years. As an addendum to this letter from another teacher, I have to wonder if upper administration purchased a subscription to a conglomerate where they can buy their Audacity in bulk. Because I feel extremely confident saying that should one of them have to teach all day in a classroom for an entire week and complete all the additional tasks that all of us teachers have to do, they would have no issue compensating us and respecting us in the way that we deserve. Thank you.
Thank you all for coming tonight, and this concludes our listening session. Every month, we will be here at 5:30 to listen to our community and to hear their concerns and to also hear from our other community members that come forward with ideas as well. And so, thank you all for coming. Our regular meeting starts at 6:30.